7:07 and you're live.
Great. We'll meet in order. The roll, please.
Chairman,
Me? Yeah, sure. I'm here.
Commissioner Austin, Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Manigo, Commissioner Rothman, Commissioner Stitzel,
Here.
Commissioner McCullough,
Here.
Councilmember Parrish. Here.
Great. Do you have any correspondence?
No.
Nope. Awesome. Approval of the minutes were sent to you from the last meeting. You approve? Well, I need a motion to approve. Second. And a second. And then we all vote to approve. Yes? Okay. Unanimous. We'll leave a couple things on the, what's that? Sorry. I got a cold, so I'm like deaf in both ears now. Only a couple of things on the agenda. One's a mural update. I was hoping that Ian would be here to talk about it. I know James has been in touch with Kano about doing a mural also on the carriage house.
Oh.
So I think he's ready to mural. So that's all I know. If anyone has any other info.
If there were a mural on Kano's carriage house, would that come under the purview of this committee at all? Would there be funding?
Well, it's not a public space, so, but I know maybe we could get funding for it, because part of our job is to develop public-private partnerships.
That's why I'm wondering, and if we had a public art map, it would be one of the stops on,
Right.
you know, on any kind of tour, so it seems like we have an interest in supporting it. Right?
Yeah. I would have to recuse myself as the president of the board of Kano from,
Yeah, I have to recuse myself as a board
as a
member.
board member. So we'll leave it up to you guys. Okay. Whether we, how we,
That wall is sitting there just begging for it.
yeah,
We're talking about that small white building in the back.
Yeah,
yeah. In fact, the largest wall that faces the artist's loft.
Yeah, that'd be great too.
It's only got 2 windows in it on the first floor. The second floor is clear all the way around on that side, so it might be good space for putting something on. But it's like I can talk to James about it, about for Kano, and then see if we can get some public funding for it. Anything else mural related? Other than the next piece of new business, which is the artist proposal. Thanks for working on that. Has everyone looked at it?
Yeah.
yeah, I think it looks great. I mean, to me, the main question is, do we have an email address to receive those acts? And
So the city's addresses are billed by box. So I would have to find out what the expense is to add an additional user account.
Right.
Okay.
There's also the option of using, the existing Google Drive Gmail account as well.
Okay.
That's what your email said, right?
No, I didn't respond because I knew it'd be CE. Yeah.
And were we to use, I think you had suggested even having people contact the clerk's office directly. Would that be kind of an overload? Yeah.
You can have
So-
an email me too, that would be fine, and I can
Okay.
forward on to the group.
Yeah.
As long as we have some clear communication to
Right.
people who wanna make a proposal.
And as long as it's going to an account where it won't get buried by all the other day's emails.
And that can handle the size. And I'm
Right.
not gonna get a million of them, but some people's email, you know.
Yeah.
And I would suggest just one email address only because it makes it easier to keep track of it.
Yeah.
So if you want to do the city clerk, that's great. And if this commission gains steam and becomes an important entity in the way the city operates, then, maybe it could be our commission at Oneonta
Right.
at some point in the future. Okay, there's Stephanie.
Oh, good.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
When we might get that little bit of information straightened out,
The email?
the email.
Well, we just give that now, right? And then.
Yeah.
put that
Oh.
right on there,
Yeah, so let's just make it city clerk, and then the question is, how do we make this call go live?
So it's cityinfo@oneonta.ny.us. And that email gets distributed to the 3 of us in my office.
Last name was ES,
US.
US, oh, US. Okay. cityinfo@onionted.ny.us.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, so I'll add that to the blue sheet.
And is there a place on the city's website where we could
Yeah.
have a page with all this information?
That's in progress in the midst of our website redevelopment.
How long would it take for that to be able to go live?
I'm optimistic that it will be within the next month.
And then next month, you said?
Yeah.
But if we wanted to like start getting proposals right now, that's not really an option. Right?
What would you be looking to put on it? Because I mean, I can add and remove pages.
I think if we just
Will.
could have a page that says, you know, we're soliciting proposals for this fall, and here's where you email stuff. The sooner the better, because I think we should probably have a quick turnaround on our deadline for it.
Just put this right on the page.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I just don't know how easy it is to.
Yeah, that would take minutes.
Okay, so we could do that and we could send this out to the Daily Star and maybe like get it on the social media. In which case we could have a pretty quick turnaround for we, because the other thing we need is a deadline for submissions.
Right.
And I mean, it sounds like we have one submission already in the works anyway. And we're really doing this out of ethical concern to make sure we're being transparent, and open about it. So I don't know if we need months of receiving entries, but I'm not sure what turnaround is. Sensible.
Maybe 1 month?
When is this building being torn down? How long do we, once it's up, how long do we have? That might,
It's unknown at this time. It could be the spring, it could be next summer. It could be a year from now or 2 years from now.
okay. I mean, because if it's the spring, then I mean, we should just really be like working at lightning speed, but if it's 2 years from now, then that's, you know, gives us a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's probably closer to the spring,
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah,
next year.
which is why I feel like maybe the turnaround needs to be like posted
Yeah.
for 2
Right.
weeks
Right.
and make a decision.
Right. And I think that we
Weather
should,
permitting, I don't know. if-
right, we should plan for it to be a quick turnaround. And that's what I think the original intent of using that space was to get something up quick
Yeah,
and have it be a temporary art piece that is just gonna spark conversation in the community.
I mean,
So
2 weeks from now is Christmas Eve.
Rather be a big Christmas present.
It'll be the 22nd is 2 weeks from today.
Okay,
I mean, the commission will meet again. I mean, this is the thing, you guys would have to decide to have a special meeting, or your next opportunity would be your January meeting. So if it's gonna be the January meeting, then you might as well take submissions up until that
Up until that
point.
date.
Unless you wanna meet ahead of time.
We meet on January 12th. So we could take submissions up until January 7th. And, yeah.
And hope for that 1 week in January, we usually get a thaw that we can approve it and get somebody to get out there and get it.
but yeah, that's the question, right? It's
Yeah.
how soon after approval would they be able to do anything?
Right.
And if it is just a temporary thing, you know, some of those environmental concerns as far as temperature don't matter as much on the paint, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't have to last. But I assume that there's temperatures at which spray paint or stenciling or
Right.
whatever
Not gonna work.
is a problem, yeah.
So if we meet on the 12th and make a decision and notify the proposal person, maybe 2 days later, that would be January 14th. Should we say they have 1 month to complete it?
I think the weather is such an obstacle, I don't know if we can say that,
I know.
2 months.
I don't know.
Without into March, I mean, sometimes, yeah, I think by March you should start to be able to work outside a little bit.
Yeah, there will be patches for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how to create a sort of rubric for something as variable as what the weather will be, you know.
We could give a date to say Mural must be completed by, and then when we have
Yeah,
a team or a person that we're working with, if we have like the worst winter ever on record, which could be,
yeah,
then we'll just have to be flexible.
And you
yeah, I
can
think
say-
that makes sense. Because again, if the building is knocked down in April, we're gonna want to get something done before then.
So what day is that? Let's see, sorry, guys. All right, the 14th would be, the month later would be February 11th, and then March, by March 11th. Would be completed by March 11th.
I think that sounds good.
All right, I'm filling in my blanks here. Okay, so the winning mural must be completed by March 11th. Submission by January 7th. Got the email address. How about if I add, based on our conversation before, subject of the email mural proposal, that way you see
Yeah.
a subject that we can search for. Anything else we need to put into this? And you know what I'm thinking, if we're gonna be putting this on social media, what's great is if it's gonna be on a website, we just have to put the link, and we could just put something like, you know, mural proposals, seeking mural, you know, something where we don't have, because all this copy on a Facebook or an Instagram thing is, it's just too much detail.
If you have a graphic though for social media that we can use just as a
I can
base
do that.
image,
Yeah,
posts with pictures get more traction, so.
yeah, or even just something that has, how that's attractive, and then you could just put the link on the bottom, the person can click on the link, and then you get all these little details, right? Because to try to put all the little details in a
Well, you-
Facebook ad, it looks horrible.
You can't put links in Instagram.
Hmm?
You can't put links in Instagram posts.
Ah, that's true.
I don't, this
We
is.
don't have
Instagram? Yeah, we have a reserved location, but we don't use it,
Okay,
not yet.
but I think, you know, through other sites, we should get it out, you know, so you need in the graphic to have the website just written out, I guess, so that people can see it. And that's why on Instagram, you have to so often see link in bio, because that's the only place you can actually embed a link.
So I'll do, Facebook proportions, right?
Yeah.
So do
And
we,
then once we get this written up, do we have to send it through legal?
He's already approved it, was that the conversation, the email?
Yeah, I mean, unless you have any specific questions, but I run this by him and talked about all the concerns that we had initially and gotten satisfactory answers on that.
Okay.
So it should be fine to go forward.
Should the call for proposals include a photograph of the actual wall itself?
Maybe that will go on the website.
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
You can take a picture. Gideon, take a picture.
Yeah,
Once it's over.
he's not here, we can vote for him.
so this is possible to have this up by the end of the week then? Because we just need to take this and throw it on the page and then a few links to Facebook. I think that should be a good goal, because we want to get this rolling as fast as possible.
And then once it's on the city's Facebook page, we just take it off and share it.
Share it.
Right in there.
Do we want anything in print to stick in the stores or anything like that? Do we want a little flyer and that? Maybe not necessary if we got the mailing list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might just slow us down.
If we could get a story to the Daily Star, I guess that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just directing people to the website.
Are we gonna have a contract once we pick somebody? So in case they decide to change their mind midway through and do something different than what we accepted, or they don't finish it, or et cetera. I guess that's jumping the gun, but we need to do that.
Is that what's included? Do you guys have something?
I had a sample of the contract that the sculptors signed, for the sculpture trail in Cherry Valley. Very simple, it's just kind of agreeing to what they need to do.
I guess we can get to that when we get to it, but we'll have to have a contract. I mean, the person could, you know, do something entirely different, and we'll have to say that we'll pay you upon completion of the project.
I think we have a sample contract in that the Syracuse document that I carried over.
There is some issue about paying upon completion because they're gonna need to pay their materials up front, and a lot of people aren't gonna be able to afford it, they're gonna need some money up front. So I guess we're gonna have to work that out.
When the destination owner give us 1,000, and then we have freedom to give what we will to the artist.
So the city attorney said that it's easiest if Destination Oneonta just pays this person.
Okay.
So, and actually, that's a really good point, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. I would love it if we could mention the funding being provided by Destination Oneonta, so that they get a boost from this as well in their partnership with us. But so, I mean, they've committed the funds, through the board, and so I think if you said to them, we need to pay half and half or whatever, they're very flexible with it at this point to do whatever they think needs to be done to make it work.
Would it work just to add a sentence after the accepted proposal will be awarded $1,000 to cover paint materials and stipend for the artist? This funding is provided by Destination Oneonta.
Yeah. That's great. And I think too, before I compliment it, I was gonna say, if you have your completion date, you could always say like weather permitting.
Yeah, that's very true.
But to Steph's point, if someone needs an advance on their $1,000 to buy materials for this, how would we handle that?
You could just tell the that it needs to be dispersed on X date.
But we also want to disperse all of it upon completion, right? So we don't want to just before it's even started, give someone all the money.
Right.
So is there some kind of mechanism for paying for materials, yet also dispersing the rest of the honorarium
Oh, yeah,
upon completion?
I'm sure that you could say, any portion, you could say half and half or whatever, and it would be no
Okay.
problem.
I think, yeah, half and half maybe is the easiest way to go, because I don't think people are gonna need $1,000 of materials, but maybe if we could say that we would disperse half upfront and half upon completion, that solves that problem.
Yeah, I think that's easy enough to coordinate.
Should we have a minimum spent on the mural? I'm not saying anyone's gonna do this, but I don't want someone thinking, all right, if I spend the least amount on this mural as I can, I get to keep the rest, because that's, when I read this, that's what it sounds like, so you.
Well, I think when we look at what their proposal, make a determination. I mean, if it's someone who puts a proposal where they're gonna put a postage stamp style or, a small mural in a huge space,
Mhm.
we're gonna be in a position to decide whether that's appropriate or not based on.
Well, and if we approved it based on whatever they proposed, presumably what they proposed seemed good to us, right?
Yep.
And so what you're suggesting is, what if they cheap out and don't really do what they said they were going to?
Yeah, I want something.
But that's what the honorarium upon completion handles, right? So if when they're done, we say, you just use some latex house paint you had laying around, and this isn't what you proposed at all, then, then they don't get the other half. Right?
Yeah, Rich, I think his question, if I may, I think his question was more or less, could some wily artist come in here and propose something that really wouldn't cost that much so they can walk away with $900? I am fine with that. You guys, $1,000.
Propose it, I'm fine with it too, yeah, why not? If they happen to
Nothing.
have.
Look, if you look at these calls, generally people get $10,000 for a mural.
Right.
$1,000 is nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we're not proposing that they create a mural. We're looking for something fast and dirty.
And
This is
even
not
fast
gonna
and
be-
dirty, $1,000 is not much. So
well, that may determine who proposes this.
Right. Well, you're a muralist and you know how much murals cost. We're not looking for that style of mural. We're basically looking for a graffiti mural.
Yeah.
We're looking for someone to get out there with a bunch of spray paint, knock it out in a day or two or a week. And it's something that's temporary, that's not gonna be up there forever. So it doesn't have to have the kind of paint that's gonna last for
Right.
20 years.
And they also, upon proposing it, know how much money is in it. And
Right.
so if they look at it and think, I'm not doing that much work for that little money, then they're not gonna propose, right?
Yeah,
But if they come up with a design that could be done for $100 with materials or things they already have, and they keep the rest, great, as long as we approved it and said, that's a great
Yeah.
proposal, I don't care.
Good for them. Look, lawyers bill out at $500 an hour, and a lot of artists are like 4,000 times more talented than than a lot of lawyers. So I have no problem with this. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think the only real problem is if we approved something and they decided to, cut their costs and not really give us the thing we approved. That's the only thing I would see as a problem is if they were trying to sort of be wily in that manner. But again, that's why the money upon completion is going to handle that.
Yeah, and most artists take such pride in their work
Right.
that they're not doing it for the money, they're more doing it to have something cool of theirs out there for. So
portfolio
it's
piece.
counterproductive to do a bad job.
Yeah, I don't think that's a real concern, really.
But we will have some form of a contract that would,
Yeah, I think we have.
and I guess we got a little time to put that together, right? Because next time we
Yeah.
meet, we're gonna choose a proposal.
Yeah.
And then we can,
And I do think the question of whether there's money up front or money at the end is a good one, because if it is someone who is gonna do something down and dirty for whom $1,000 really is, a big deal, they may also not have several $100s to sink into materials up front.
any other discussion?
Does anyone know when they're going to demolish the building? for
No,
sure?
we don't, we're thinking maybe spring at the earliest.
Okay,
But we don't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be before spring.
it wouldn't do before, okay.
so the mural will be up either for a few months or for longer.
Right.
Right.
But again, this is gonna be a very temporary installation to both announce our intent with public arts in Oneonta.
Yeah, it's good. Sounds cool, right? I'm excited. I can't wait to start seeing submissions. I hope people apply. Yeah.
That's key.
So any other discussion about the artist proposal?
I think it's ready to go up.
Okay, so you'll make the edits in it and send it out to everybody. Can we approve it by email?
You can't approve by email, but you've already approved it in committee.
Great, okay, so that's approved, all right. Any additional business?
Yeah, so at the common council meeting, the percent fund got denied because people, the council were saying too much.
Yes.
Can we just say we'll do 0.1%?
Or 0.5, why don't you start at 0.5?
0.5, yeah, if it's the amount that's really slowing down, any sort of
Yeah.
cash inflow that's regular for us is gonna be huge.
Totally, I totally agree. So it was at the legislative committee.
Okay.
So it didn't make it out of committee, basically is what happened. So the council never actually voted on it at all. But I think that, I think a percent for our bylaw is a really great idea. Obviously, other municipalities do it. The concern that was raised, right, was the amount of money that would generate
Because we
for
don't
this
want to
purpose.
pay artists too much.
Right, or have, well, I think part of it too is a lack of control over that money, whatever is generated, because it would go through the arts commission, and I spoke to 2 other council members, and they're like, oh, no, we're not gonna
Right.
cede control of all that money to you.
I think one thing that, and this, I brought up to the legislative committee was like, we can think about this, we can take a look at it for a while, because we have no capital projects scheduled for 2022, so we're not even talking about funding this coming year. It would be like for 2023 and beyond. So I think that conversation can continue. I think it would be helpful if it was informed by an understanding of what truly you guys would want to do and how much that would cost,
Right.
because then we can figure out how we can fund it. We do have a new mayor starting in a couple of weeks who's really excited about the idea of developing downtown in general, but also in this way.
Mhm.
And an artist joining the common council. So there's a way, I feel like the conversation isn't over. And I think there's a way for us to reapproach it, just with more information and a better strategy.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So, with that being said, I mean, the other piece of that is that, we just approved the budget and we're like dipping into reserves in order to cover costs for existing services. So I think that there's hesitation there as well. But and it's our mission as a council to make the financial situation of the city better. So as that progresses, if we just keep sort of advocating for our piece of that pie, I feel good about it, because it's clear, like the economic benefits of public art are very clear. If we have a supportive mayor for that, not saying that Mayor Hersey isn't supportive, because he definitely isn't, just, it's the end of his term. So yeah, I think that we can continue that conversation.
Okay.
As things change.
Is that Katie? Is that Katie?
Yeah, hey.
It is, oh, hi. So what about that money that we got awarded from New York State? Is that, what you just said, is that we're in financial dire straits owning on to it?
Yeah, are you talking about the American Rescue Plan Act?
I guess, yeah.
ARPA? Yeah, so I did actually request, so very good question. So we had a discussion around ARPA. The first round of funding is coming in 2022. We have tentatively allocated that funding to parks and culture. So basically what we did was identify 9 projects in the parks that we'd like to accomplish with that funding. But because none of those things have gone out to bid, their costs can be flexible. So if the first 7 come in over what we've estimated, then there may not be the funding for the final 2, for example. And so what I requested to the council during that discussion was to take any remaining funds from that ARPA, if we are unable to complete all of the projects, and give that to the Public Arts Commission to go forward. That got support at the table. It's nothing, set in stone, but that's something that is sort of in the ether and maybe could come forward in 2022.
Is there a deadline for expenditure of that?
2026.
2026, okay.
Yeah. So the funds have to be committed by 2024. Yeah, so we think the funds have to be committed. This is me and Carrie going on our memory here. So we think the funds have to be committed by 2024 and spent by 2026. I know 2026 for sure.
So does that mean we have virtually no budget potentially until 2024?
Well, no, not necessarily. But also yes. So I don't know if you heard the first part of my spiel, right, which is that we're deficit spending right now. We're dipping into reserves to cover basic costs. And so there just isn't anything extra to give to this right now.
Well,
So
we
we can create, so from the city coffers and the city taxpayers. With that being said, there are grants at the state level. There are things that we can do, and it's part of the mission of this group to help, to try to identify those so that we can get this rolling without it being a direct cost to the taxpayer. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, we could also, there could be some fundraising too. I mean,
Yeah.
you could propose a space and then, the thing is artists don't want to raise money because then you really can't apply for grants until you have a particular project, I don't think, but maybe you can at the city level. Blank check applications, I'm not sure.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, that's all stuff that can be explored by the group. I like the idea of saying, we want to put X here, and then having people who want to see that donate toward it, because I'm sure you could get some donors that way.
One project that, did I mention this already, Lou Lansing, the head of the Parks Department, would love to see done as a memorial or tribute to service dogs by the dog park. And that could be so beautiful. I went to the 9/11 or the 9/11 Memorial Museum, and there was a beautiful photograph of a firefighter at 9/11 kneeling down with his dog licking his face, and it would be such a great sculpture. I think we could maybe find some support if we wanted to try and get that going at some point, because she's all about it and wanting to, do it. So
Yeah.
that's one advocate for it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that the finding funding and developing the plan probably have to happen sort of concurrently, so that if a grant opportunity needs you to have something ready to go, you know what that's gonna be. I don't know, those are just
Judy would be a good resource as well.
Judy Kingman, and, maybe we can have her come to a meeting, so she can talk with all you guys about it. I'll ask her. Judy Kingman.
Oh, Judy Kang.
Yeah.
We could put out a call for, this changes everything since we don't have a budget. We could put out a call for ideas. And we have a map of potential spaces, and then we could vet some ideas and then say we want, a dog memorial or something like that at space X. As soon as we have a concept, then we can start applying for the grants. People are, as Katie said, people are going to be much more willing to give money if they know what they're giving the money for. But we could put out a call for ideas. What does Oneonta need for art?
That could be something good after we get this first meal up.
Oh, yeah.
Talking, to have that follow, because we'll be looking for more things to put up after that.
Yeah. How, I'm sorry, I didn't want to take the conversation somewhere else. I'm just thinking of, in terms of council expectations, how complete is the plan?
The master plan?
Yes.
I tell you the truth, I have not worked on it in a couple of weeks. Everyone else has access to it. One of the things that I would like to do was flesh out the goals a bit more. I want to put in this artist proposal, and also we should have a copy of an actual artist contract in it. So it's available that artists can look online, find the plan, and maybe if they want to submit, they could tailor something towards the plan. I think we also probably should talk more about the curatorial side of this and how we're going to approach that. Are we going to have curated projects where we have a theme that runs through the city? Things like that, and that's something we have to discuss as a body, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
I think right now, we were just trying to get like one project off the ground to get us into the new year, and then work on this rest of this process over the course of the winter. So in the spring, we can just, take advantage, hopefully, of discussions that are generated by the one project we've got going, and maybe get some more input from external stakeholders into something like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great because, this is going to be the framework that this commission works off of. And so I think giving it that, I don't know, giving it that thought, I guess, is important. So I'm glad to hear that. So thumbs up all around.
So I encourage all of you to take a look at it and add comments to it.
Yeah, I mean, because this is gonna be not just short term, right? I mean, it's a living document, but the idea would be that it would be something that this commission ongoing would be able to follow. So I think it's important that it's really well thought out.
Yeah, all right. I don't want to present something that's half done to council either. It's like, I'd like to have
Yeah, cool.
a decent document that they can, so they can read it and understand it, something that's not verbose. I mean, the Syracuse plan was just ran out for 46 pages, and I don't think that's necessary. But they had a lot of information in it, you know, regarding their goals, and that was one of the big things that I edited down, because we have to create our own goals, we have to create our own pathway to the goals.
Right.
Great. Any other additional business?
One thing we should just think about is, say we get 12 proposals for the mural. Just, we should develop a little system just for voting,
Okay.
which one, and if we could just make a spreadsheet with each person or each team, each proposal. And maybe each of us rate them from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and then add up and whatever the highest one is, or something like, something simple.
Do you want to do a simple one person, one vote rating system, or do you want to create a rubric of artistic merit or appropriateness for the site? Because, I mean, ultimately, like I keep saying, this is just a quick and dirty
Yeah,
establishment of the Arts Commission. But I do agree that in the future,
yeah.
that we should be thinking of those things. Is it appropriate for the site? Is it appropriate for Oneonta? Is it appropriate for the general public?
Right.
So should we create a document of like a grading rubric for this?
I feel like for this first thing, because it is down and dirty and fast, I think that we're just rating things 1 to 5.
That's great.
And looked at how everything turned out, I'm sure we would probably all agree that whoever rose to the top of that system was appropriate for the site, you know, that would
It's
be.
nice, because then,
That'll be how we were thinking of it, but I do think going forward, that might be a rubric to create. Because if you did have things that were sort of ranked closely, and one was much more, you got much higher ratings in the appropriate to the site rubric,
Right.
even if not quite as high in the aesthetics rubric, or whatever we came up with, that could guide our conversation at least.
Okay.
But I feel like that maybe it's not necessary on this sort of
right,
quick.
I think this one being that's temporary, just to decide, but like, what's nice about this is if we wanted to, each person could take their time and look at each proposal and do it on their own.
Yeah.
On their little chart, and when we come together, we just see who's.
Or you just put the Google Doc. I mean, we have to
Yeah.
share a Google Doc with
Right, yeah, that would be
just-
perfect.
yeah, we'll post it on the city website.
Make like an Excel spreadsheet that automatically adds and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone can come in and edit, any one of us can go in and edit, just put your name on it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's fine. Okay. So we'll figure that out on our way to getting proposals. And then at some point, as part of the master plan, to put together a real a real rubric for you know, artistic contributions to the Public Arts Commission's plan for the city.
Mm.
Great. Anything else?
I apologize for being late.
Okay.
I've been working with 5th graders building puppets down in Middletown, and I hit weather on my way back.
Oh, I know, yeah. No
I'm
problem.
up over the hills.
Is there, if there's no other additional business? I mean, a lot of stuff we can sort of hash out in our master plan document and the editable proposal. Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn. You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second? All in favor? Great.